today's topic is normalization. So normalization. So yesterday, last video, we discussed about what is anomaly. So there are three types of anomalies. So what we discussed: insert, update, modification. So how we can rectify all these anomalies using normalization. So today in this video we are going to discuss about normalization. It is the process that is carried out to minimize the redundancy. So redundancy is nothing but repetition. So when there is a repeated data in a table, then we call that table is not a normalized one, means it is not that quality. So when you wanted a quality schema, means a quality design, then we need a table which is normalized. So in normalization we have 5 types of normalization. So first we'll see what is normalization. So it's the process that is carried out to minimize the redundancy, so repetition. So which we are going to minimize the repetition in the table, so which is having a relations between the database. So normalization is the process that is carried out to minimize the redundancy that are present in a data in relational database. So the normalized table always we needed in the relational database. If there is no relation between two different entities, if there is no more than one entity table, then normalized table is not that required. But here when there is a relational database, then it has to be normalized. Then only that table we call it as a quality schema. So now we'll see what the normal forms we have. So there are 6 normal forms. So first normal form, second normal form, third normal form, Boy Scout normal form, then fourth normal form and fifth normal form. So we'll see in each normal form what we are going to discuss, means what we are going to minimize, what are the repetition, what are the dependencies we are going to rectify using this normalization constraints. So we'll see the first one. So before seeing the first normal form, we see this flow chart. So how this unnormalized form is converted into a normal form. So this unnormalized form, so what is this unnormalized form? Is nothing but the table which is not normalized, we call it as an unnormalized form. It means the table which has a repeated data, which have some anomalies, insertion anomaly, updation anomaly. So all these kind of anomalies which present in the table, we call it as a unnormalized form. So unnormalized form, so first thing what we are going to do with the unnormalized form. First step, we have to reduce the repeated data. So why we have to reduce the repeated data? So when there is more repeated data, then unwanted, like the space is occupied with the unwanted data. So why we have to keep on repeating the same data? So that we can minimize the repeated data. So first normalized form, so once you remove the reducing the repeated data, then we call it as a first normalized form, means that form is normalized with the first rule. So we'll see the first one. What is the definition for first normal form? So first normal form, it is a normal form used in database normalization. A table is in first normal form if and only if all the key attributes have been defined and it contains no repeating group. So if you want to say, okay, this table is satisfying the first normal form, then there should not be a repeated data. So when there is no repeated data, then we call that as it is satisfying the first normal form. See here, there is an example. So how this unnormalized form is satisfying with the first normal form. So here is a table, employee table. So employee table, so the employee number, the 3 datas are there, employee name, children, so children of employee, particular employee, and children, date of birth. So what is here not a normal one means, this employee numbers belong to the person Raj. And this Raj children's was Chintu and Pintu and their date of birth. But here what is not normalized means which date is belong to which child. So that is the difficulty. So we can't say this first child is having this date of birth, the second child is this one. We don't know which is the first one and the second one, right? So that is what here unnormalized. So which data belongs to which child? Multiple value cannot be recorded here. So because if the child, more than one child, so here only two childs are there, like more than that, where to enter? So that is what the problem here. See here, so that we are going to create one, so we are going to normalize this unnormalized form to a normal one. So employee number, again this is a table, employee number, employee name, child 1, child 2, child 1 birthday, child 2 birthday. So the problem what we faced in the previous one, we solved it over here. Now we can easily find out child 1 birthday, child 1's birthday is here and child 2 birthday is here. But here what is the problem? More than 2 child if it is there, if the employee has, then we can't enter. So that is the problem in the next table. So how we are going to rectify with the next one? So what they are doing, they create 2 different entities which has one table is having employee number and employee name. More than that, no information. So the next table will be having employee number, child name, child's birth date. So what the employee will do, he will enter his employee number and the child name and the child's birthday. If he is having 2 child, then twice he will enter the employee number, name and the next child's birth date. If he is having 1 child, then one time he will be entering. If he is having 3 child, then 3 times he will be entering, so that there won't be a confusion, like 3 and there is no free space also. If we, for example, in the previous table, what happens if the person is having only 1 child and this column will be blank, the space is wasted. So that problem is solved over here. So there is no repeated data, there is no inconsistency in the data also. So this is what called as first normal form, that is called as 1NF. In question paper they will be asking 1NF. So 1NF is nothing but first normal form. So now this table is normalized with the first one, first normal form. Next one, second normal form. So second normal form, what is the second normal form? A table is in second normal form if and only if. So just remember this definition there, if and only if the table is not having the repeated data. Here, if and only if it is in first normal form and every non-key attribute is functionally depend on the whole primary keys, means it has to satisfy first of all first normal form, the table, then only we can move on to the second normal form. If not, you have to first solve that problem, then you have to come to the second normalization. The second normal form, and it has to depend on the primary key. All the data has to be depend on the primary key. See here, you can see here is a table which has student ID, course ID, student name, course and the grade. So they have entered all the data. And next table, student table, only student ID and the name. And the next one, course table. So instead of having the table, so you can see here 2 primary keys. So this both we can have it as a primary key, because this details we needed for the course and the grade, and this primary key we need for the name. So how we have normalized now, we have divided that table into 2. See here, student ID and the student name. So now there is one student table, another one is course table. So we have done with the first step. Next step, what you have done, instead of having repeated data, so student ID, student name, course ID, course name. So here the data are repeated. So what we have done, so we have matched over here. So the person student ID, which course he belongs to, that course ID is enough. No need of the name and no need of the course location. Why? Because if I mention course ID 1, automatically it says it is max. If I mention this student ID number, then it automatically matches the name. So I'm reducing the data and I made one more table, the final table, which has only student ID, course ID and the grade. So there is no student name and there is no course name. So we have reduced that one. So that is what we call it as a second normal form. Now we go back to the flow chart. What we have, see, you can see removing the partial dependency. So that is what we have done. So which is dependent partially over the primary key, we have removed it by minimizing the data. So that is what we have done in the second normal form. So for